Okay, now that you've measured your body, now it's time to lay out your pattern. But first, before we lay out our pattern, there's a few things that we need to know. First, you always want to make sure that you wash your fabric before you start working. If you don't, and you go ahead and make your pattern without washing your fabric first, your garment, once you wash it after you've finished it, can shrink. It can do a lot of really weird things. So if we wash our fabric first, then we don't have to worry about that later. So once you've washed your fabric, I've got my lovely washed muslin here, and then what you're going to want to do is iron it. I like to, when I iron, go ahead and fold it in half, and then we're going to work our iron, and we're going to go in either parallel lines or in perpendicular lines to our selvage. And remember, selvage is what's the factory end of the fabric. It's the one that the factory gives us. It's usually nice and straight, so we want to make sure that we're working either parallel or perpendicular to that. We don't want to go in a circular motion, as it will knock off the grain of the fabric. Okay, now that you've ironed your fabric, now we need to put our pattern pieces on the fabric. But first, we need to know about a couple ways to fold the fabric. There are 3 different ways that we can fold the fabric. The first is the lengthwise fold, the second is the crosswise fold, and the third is the double fold. So when we talk about each kind of fold that there is, the lengthwise fold is where we take each end from selvage to selvage and we put those together, and you fold it in half, and that is the lengthwise fold. This is the most common fold. However, the other fold, the crosswise fold, is when you have your 2 selvage edges away from each other and you fold in half down the side of the fabric, and you have the fold running perpendicular to the selvage edge. The double fold is where you have your pattern, your fabric lying flat, and you take each selvage and you go to the center of the fabric, and it looks something like this. And that way you have 2 folded edges in order to cut patterns out on. Now, what determines what kind of fold you use depends on the number of pattern pieces you have, the width of your fabric, and the most economic use of your pattern pieces.